Welcome to Bleav In 76ers with your hosts, former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and two Sixers fanatics in Marcus and Teja Dash. Bleav In 76ers is presented by BetOnline.AG.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use promo code BLEAV for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. We've got a great new sponsor here at Bleav In 76ers podcast. And I got to say, I love betting with my friends on pretty much anything, sports, games, you name it. And that's what the Kutt App allows us to do. The Kutt App is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's legal in 40 plus states. Kutt has customizable odds, tracking capabilities, and an entire social network with group chats, user profiles, and rewards. And the best part is, all payments are on the app as well. No need for Venmo. So, to get started today, use our promo code BLEAV76ers. You can find that right there for a 10% welcome deposit bonus. And that promo code is BLEAV76ers, BLEAV 76ers. The Kutt App. Put your money where your mouth is. I look forward to seeing you on the app. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bleav In 76ers podcast. I'm Marcus Dash here with legendary 76ers point guard Eric Snow and my brother Teja Dash. We took a little break. We didn't have an episode Friday, but hey, 2-game winning streak since our last show, so pretty dang good actually. To, not taking the show Friday and having just 2 wins. So maybe we're the bad luck charm. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'll take it, whatever it is.
Yeah,
we need a little rest.
Yeah,
a little off day.
Yeah, we need the resurgence
to get the wins.
Yep. And then a little tinkering of the lineup change as well.
Yeah.
But so news right before we came on today, Maxey will not be playing tonight in concussion protocol. I don't know how long that usually lasts as far as the NBA. I know usually the NFL, if a guy's in protocol the week before, there's a chance he's out that next week. So who knows if that's like a 1 week recovery time for that. Eric, do you know as far as like the protocols that NBA players go through, how different that is from the protocol NFL players go through?
No, I'm not certain. I mean, we didn't have those. Obviously, we didn't have those protocols when I was playing. But I would imagine it's different because the collision and difference in the sports. But I do know that it's precaution and it's third party, I believe. So it's taken out of the hands of the team and the team doctor. So I think that's where it's similar, is that you have to reach each particular league has the thresholds that you have to meet in order for you to return to play. So whatever those guidelines are, and I do not know what they are and the differences between the two, but I do know that there's guidelines and measures that you have to meet in order to come back to play.
Yeah, back when you played, it was take some Motrin and get back out there.
It was, you got a headache. I mean, I never heard the word concussion my whole career. Maybe the end of my career, people start talking about people having concussions in basketball. I never heard it. No, it was just like if you said you had a real bad headache, they would say migraine, and then the word you just soft would always come in. So you had it was they treat you bad, boy, back when you got injured back then, man.
No mercy.
It seemed like you just it was different. Yeah, it was different.
That's funny. So hopefully Maxey's not out for that long. Hopefully this protocol lasts a few games, maybe just one game. Who knows? But I mean, the interesting thing is he came back into that game after having that initial contact with his head. He came back in to finish off the game. So I think it's interesting that now they say protocol after the game. So maybe he had symptoms after the fact.
Yeah, I mean, he probably I thought about that when they initially when he got in and they said when he went back in, I was like, that was quick. That's what I was thinking initially. Whereas now, I mean, it's been documented in some cases that you don't really feel symptoms until maybe later on the next day.
Yep.
That's documented. I mean, I guess it's to each his own, and it depending on the individual. But that's not uncommon for that to happen.
Yep. Yeah. Well, hopefully the guys can take care of business while Maxey's out. We'll get the game picks later on. We got some stuff to get into from the last few games. So obviously Philly has won the last 2 games in a row. Nick Nurse turning to a different starting lineup. Obviously, it helps that with Melton's back injury, we kind of had to go to a different lineup anyways. But he's inserted Kyle Lowry to the starting unit alongside Tyrese Maxey. So I'm curious who's going to be the other guy with him tonight. Probably be Oubre and Lowry, I'm going to guess. But Mo Bamba has moved into the starting center spot over Paul Reed. So, yeah, some two little minor changes, which have kind of propelled us to 2 victories. You could even say, even with Lowry having a bad game on Sunday, his leadership on the court has just kind of been paying off. But what have you all have noticed from these 2 guys being in the starting lineup over the last 2 games, last 2 wins against the Hornets and the Mavericks? What have you seen from Lowry and Mo Bamba just kind of changing what we've seen from the starting 5?
As far as Kyle, he brings some stability to the lineup. Some control, understanding situations, when to slow it up, when to push it. So that helps because you can have runs or situations where you turn the ball over consecutive times or you're not communicating. So I think from that standpoint, the stability, the communication, taking care of the basketball, value in possessions, I think that's where you can show you can tell where he's kind of helped the team. As far as Mo Bamba, I think it's a combination. I think him starting kind of allows him to know he's going to play instead of wondering when he's going to play. So it brings okay, and now I know I'm going to start, so now I can just go in and focus on playing and not necessarily wondering when and if the situation. So it brings some certainty for him. And it also brings some certainty for Paul Reed because it allows him to go back to his original role when Joel was playing. So that brings some familiarity with him. So I like the moves, and I said before, like Mo Bamba just got to give him some consistency. I had said that before, and then figure it out. And starting does that. There's been a lot of situations you look in the past where guys have started but played less than the guy that was the reserve. But that level of consistency, starting game, he's usually playing with the better group at that time. So now he's playing with Maxey and your 2 leading scorers and Tobias and all those. So now he's able to play off your top scorers. And so the game becomes a little simpler and at times easier.
Tej, what are your thoughts been on the other 2 changes to the starting 5?
So Lowry with an impressive 17-2 ratio. I love seeing that. He's a leadership quality this team definitely needs. Steady hand, and the man knows how to take a damn charge. But let's just say that. It's nice to have the guy that does that now. It's such a boost. It's allowed Maxey, I think, to concentrate more on scoring. Although he still averaged 4 assists the last couple of games, he's not forcing the playmaking side. He's doing what he's best at, which is just putting the ball in the bucket. Bamba 6.5 rebounds per game last 2 games as a starter and only 16 minutes per game. So I think it's great. I think what Eric said makes total sense. I think Reed has also been more comfortable in the reserve role. He's used to it coming off the bench with Embiid. So he felt a little out of sorts as a starter maybe. And Bamba, instead of trying to come in off the bench and prove himself, he already knows he's going to be in there, which is I didn't even think about that aspect. That makes total sense. And he's looked good doing it. That's exactly what we want. We want a big man who can rebound, especially when we're getting killed on the boards. But Reed just looks better coming off the bench. I think it made 2 players better by doing that, not just one, right? 13 and 7 in one game, 11 and 8 in the other game, a total of 3 blocks last 2 games. So just to maximize Reed, it's a better configuration for two guys. I see why. Is it just a situation, Eric, where Reed's just more comfortable in that bench role? For Bamba, it makes sense because he knows he's going to play, but I guess Reed also knows he's going to play too, even though he's coming off the bench.
Yeah. And he's not playing against starters the whole time, but, primarily. That matters.
Yeah. A little more loose, maybe, coming off the bench. He's used to just being loose and just making plays.
It matters. It does matter. It matters. Maybe against the Mavericks because they didn't necessarily have a scoring big is not as much, but you play some teams. It does matter who you're playing against.
Yeah. And even Paul Reed talked about it after the Hornets game. He was quoted saying, "I know how to go out there and play hard. I feel like that's what the team needed from me. I'm the type of guy who, of course, I'm going to have a chip on my shoulder after they demote me like that. But at the end of the day, I got to be a supportive teammate. And at the end of the day, it's about the team. So whatever the team needs, whatever the team has to do to win, I'm all for it." So obviously it's kind of lit maybe a little spark under him too, coming off the bench like that. So when he is coming in, he's getting us some good quality minutes when he does step in on the court.
He's also almost doubling his minutes too. Would you, general consensus, Eric, would a guy rather start or play like almost double the minutes? Double the minutes, right?
Well, most guys would. Most guys, I wouldn't say all guys. Most guys would rather play more minutes. And as you say, double. Yes, majority of guys would. But there's some guys out there that starting means a lot.
Yeah,
like it really means a lot to some guys.
Yeah.
So that's why I wouldn't say all guys.
Yeah. It's nice to say starting center of the Sixers rather than leading minute guy on the Sixers.
Yeah,
leading minute big on the Sixers.
Leading minute big.
So that's what I'm saying. So you look at your numbers, right? If you average, you're a free agent and you're averaging between 8 to 12 points, and you play 24 minutes off the bench, and you start and you play 22 minutes, 23 minutes. Let's say you play 23 minutes as a starter and you play 30 minutes as a reserve. But your numbers are only 2-point difference. Most guys will pick that starter and those 2 less points, and they'll say, "I'm a starter on the winning team."
Yeah. I can see that.
Depends on how you look at
it.
Yeah.
If it's close, the starter boosted a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. It's interesting. Different perceptions of the way you look at it. But yeah, so far I like what they're doing with Bamba. And I got to say, going back to what Eric said over a month ago about how we kind of need to play Mo Bamba to see what we have in him. Otherwise, just saying, go get another backup big. And I'm kind of seeing it right now. Play up and right in front of our faces. And Eric was first on that, Eric. So kudos to you, buddy.
Kudos.
Cool.
Yeah. Because, I think even some fans were pissed off that we didn't get Mike Muscala before he signed with OKC. And, we have another big on the team that we don't really know what we have in with Mo Bamba. So,
yeah, I was just like, let's see what we have. Let's just see what we have, and you can make a decision from there. But we're making a decision based on without the consistency of seeing where it's at. You signed them for a reason. So let's see what you got.
Let him try. Yeah.
Yeah. Embiid vouches for the guy. He's got to have some kind of talent, We're going to go to our next topic, a topic that, is probably the most played hit on this on the show, most 76ers show, the Tobias Harris soundtrack right here, the hit of the last 3 years. It's going to continue to be in the top 40 on the all Philadelphia sports station. So
what are we going to do when he's gone?
I don't know. But so obviously over the last few weeks, times have been tough for Tobias Harris. But the last 2 games, we've seen the return of confident Tobias, dominated the Hornets and being an instrumental reason for the big win in Dallas. And it's no coincidence that this confident play comes right after a heart-to-heart that he and Embiid had last week. Tobias told the media that Embiid told him, quote, "You had a rough 7-game stretch, not 70 games. You're not out there saving lives. It's just basketball. Enjoy it and figure it out, but don't put too much pressure on yourself," which I thought was, wise words from Embiid, just kind of laid out there like that to Tobias. And obviously it struck with him. But what have you guys have seen from Tobias over the last 2 games that gives you guys some confidence and that he can maybe continue what he's been doing the last 2 games?
I mean, I think it's the aggression and a number of attempts. And I've said it before. If he's aggressive and he's looking for the opportunities and opportunities are presenting himself, he's been shown to be a guy that can score the basketball. So I think but like I said, it had to come from Maxey and the guys. And I think Kyle probably has something to do with that. Because he's more of a playmaking, trying to get other guys shots. With Maxey still able to be effective, but more receiving the basketball instead of having the basketball, majority of the time. So I think that's a factor. I think the team like I said, they understood that it had to come from them also. But the most important thing was, like, Tobias had to go out and do it and execute it. I mean, they can put him in position, they can help him, but he still has to go out and execute himself, and that's what he's done. So hopefully that continues.
Tej, your boy Tobias, what have you thought about these last 2 games, man?
Well, we're so, we're honest either way, right? When the guy struggles, we talk about it. If he plays well, we talk about it, right? So just, I think Eric nailed it, though. Just being more aggressive, picking his spots, letting it fly. I always said this. I know I go back to him sometimes more than I should, but I always said this with Ben. I can stomach missing the shots. It's hard to stomach not attempting them. That's the problem. Like, if Tobias is just having a rough game or a rough string of games and he's off, that's okay. Like, you make some, you miss some. And that kind of sounds like, in a way, what Embiid was telling him. Like, it's all right, man. Like, you're gonna miss shots. You can't just go out there and not. We need you to go out there and attempt them, though. We have to keep trying. You can't just not. You can't get gun shy, because that's even worse than being off. Because then when you do shoot again, you're probably going to be off again. So just let it fly. Go out there. Don't even think about it. Just play. 14 3-point attempts over his last 2 games. 8.5 boards. Getting aggressive on the boards. 3 steals over his last 2 games. It's funny, too. We've talked about this. You can tell pretty early on when it's going to be aggressive Toby. Like, that first half, early on, he sets the tone. And I think Eric said this last week, the week before, when we were talking about his struggling. Get him his shots early. Let him feel in the flow of the game early on, so it just trickles down to the rest of the game. And he had 7 shots in the first quarter of the Hornets game, and he only had 4 shots in the Mavericks game first quarter, but he had 10 in the first half. So he continued just to keep shooting. And then he ended up, I think, with 19 shots in both games on the dot. But just I not as much as for missing for me, but just taking them, man. Just keep taking them. You don't just lose a shot like that. I mean, yeah, there are cases where guys developed yips or, couldn't shoot as well anymore. It just kind of developed more of their lower their average, regressed a little bit. But you don't just shoot 39, 40% for years in a row, then all of a sudden become like a 32% 3-point shooter. It just doesn't happen. It's a cold streak. It happens. So just get your average back up. It'll all average out in the end. You're going to be closer to your career average. Just keep shooting.
Yeah, I think it's what Embiid was alluding to with the you had a rough 7-game stretch, not a 70-game stretch. You can snap out of it, which I thought was also cool that Embiid, laid it out there like that for him. A lot of people who question Embiid's leadership skills, well, you know what? I think he's showing and not in the last few weeks of not playing, being there for the guys and stuff. I think he's shown any of the doubters who had any kind of doubts on Embiid's leadership abilities. I think we seeing that come out in fruition here. I thought another big thing as far as the confidence and the aggression by Tobias, there was one play that stood out on the game on Sunday against Dallas where he snagged that rebound right out of Luka's hands. It was at that towards the end of the game. I think it was fourth quarter. Just small little play there, but it showed it was very symbolic on kind of the aggression that Tobias has been having over the last 2 games.
Like taking my ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
it's nice to see. It should be that way.
And it's going to have to continue with Maxey out tonight with a concussion. He might have to take even more of a leadership role as far as scoring the ball and being more aggressive out there.
Yep.
Do you anticipate him continuing to, I guess, obviously we hope he continues this stretch. Do you anticipate this continuing, this kind of tear that he's on?
I mean, hopefully, I mean, that's been more of the issue, I think, than him showing the flashes or him having his highs and lows. It's just the level of consistency at staying, at that level that's needed. And I think if you think back to when James was playing, I would always say it was about the timely plays, the timely scoring, the timely things for James. I think Tobias is sort of like that, especially when Joel was playing. But right now, it is timely. It's timely for him to stay at the level that he's at in order for us to kind of stay where we're at or move forward instead of moving backwards in the standings. So the time is now to stay where you are. Like he has to let it go. It's no moving back. It's no taking time off and going, 1 minute you up, 1 minute you down. Like if you're not going to score a lot, it's not going to be because of you not taking shots. You just have an off day.
Yeah.
So that's where it has to be right now.
Also, Eric, it's a contract year for him, and he hasn't been in one in a long time. So that's also got to be in his head somewhere too, right? He finally has, after a long time, because he moved around a lot in his career, and then he got settled in Philly with 5 straight seasons. After that long, he's finally at a place where he might not be in the same city more than 2 years in a row, right? So that's also got to be in his head to a certain degree, and maybe we haven't thought about that as much as we probably should have.
Yeah.
He also killed Brooklyn in the playoffs last year.
There you go.
3 out of 4 games, he was over 20 points. 2 double-digit rebounding games, 12 and 12. He had 25 and 12, 15 and 7, 20 and 12, 21 and 4. So the matchup's there.
Yeah, and we're getting to that matchup right now. So we got game picks. So tonight, Sixers are going to travel to Brooklyn. So they opened up as a 1.5-point favorite. It went to being a 3-point favorite. Then the Maxey news came out, and that slowly trickled down to us being a 1.5-point underdog in this game tonight against Brooklyn. So who do you guys have in this one? The series is tied at 1 apiece. Like the last time we played them was probably one of the worst games of the year for us. We looked like dog crap that game. But who do you guys have in this one tonight? Maxey's out, and I don't think they have Cam Thomas is out, Ben Simmons is out, and Darren Sharp is out. Lonnie Walker's a game-time decision.
They got some injuries in.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this, they believe they played Memphis last night. Memphis beat them.
Yep.
I mean, I think we still go in there and win. Yeah, I think we still go in there and win. I don't want to say they've completely tapped out, but they're touching the floor ever so slightly.
Yep.
Yeah, they're touching that Cancun sands. What they're touching.
Yeah, I believe Memphis was a 9.5-point underdog last night, and they beat them.
At what point when your season's lost, Eric, you start smelling that ocean air of the Cancun Sea, Cancun beaches?
I mean, to be honest, I didn't really experience that playing. Maybe a year or so. I think the 1 year, 2 years of my career, I had to make the playoffs. And I think out of those 2 years, one of them came down to the last game, and we ended up having a tie but we lost the tiebreaker to get into the playoffs.
Brutal.
And the other one, I mean, you had guys that were still playing, and you start playing the younger guys, so everything was changing. So guys were still playing for that, but you get guys. It kind of depends on how your locker room is. If your locker room is no leadership and guys are and the coach and everybody's, then that's what it's going to show on the court. But most of the time, if you have some younger guys or people that's playing for contracts and playing for minutes, and when I experienced it, we kind of played better in the end. I'm sorry, I take that back. It was 3 years. When I got traded to Philly, we didn't make the playoffs, but in Seattle, when I left Seattle, we had the best record in the league. So I went from the best record in the league to the worst record in the league.
Oh,
but when I got to Philly, we started winning games. Like, we were playing extremely well towards the end of the season, and we were beating playoff teams. Like, we were beating teams that needed wins for seeding and stuff like that, and we were beating some teams like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of steered us in a different direction. And then the next year we were in the playoffs. So it could be a carryover sometimes if teams kind of how you approach it. It helps teams figure out what they have in players, helps figure out what you have in a team. So there's still valuable minutes, even though, the whole saying, like, you're getting ready for Cancun, like it's more of people kind of saying and making fun of it more than the actions of teams really doing it.
Yeah. They're an interesting team, though, because they're pretty, with their salary construction, they're pretty kind of stuck there unless they do like a big trade of like consolidating 3 or 4 rosters. So I don't even think they would fall into the whole like play young guy category. They're kind of just like guys. They fire their head coach recently. They're kind of, but when you said touching the ground, I see that in them for sure.
Yeah, I mean they are. They made the trade for Ben. If Ben's not going to get back to form and play, and then Bridges is their number 1 option, and it's been shown that when he's a number 3 option, 3-4 option, you can go to the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So until they can get it together, we don't know what's going to happen with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The line initially scared me. I thought I was leaning towards I should take Brooklyn, but I think now it's so tight, the game's so close. I think we step up and beat them. They have some injuries of their own, so it's not like they're healthy, right? So yeah, I think we win tonight.
The Kyle Lowry effect.
Yeah, you have to come up big.
Yeah,
beat him.
So then we have a back-to-back. So then we play the Grizzlies the following night. Who Grizzlies just played the Nets last night, but we're hosting Grizzlies on Wednesday. Obviously, the spread is not out for that game yet. It'll be the first meeting of the season between these two squads. Who do you guys have in the game against Memphis on Wednesday night?
I'll take us. I mean, I just the importance of every game moving forward. You have to win this game. This is a game that it's a very winnable game. It's at home against a team that's obviously hurting a lot of guys out. You have to win these games.
Games like this are a must win. You have to, but every time I bet on a team that's playing Memphis, who I think they're going to steamroll, Memphis makes me sweat, man. I got to hand it to them. No matter who's on the floor, they're competitive every single night. That coach gets into play. They have the right mindset every time they're out there, no matter who's on the floor. That's going to be a grind. If that's a big spread, I would take Memphis to cover that spread. So we'll have to see. Back-to-back's tough, and we'll be traveling from, I guess, Brooklyn to Philly is not a big travel or anything, but let's see what the spread is. But I take us because I think it's must win for us, but they're not rolling over by any means.
Yeah, like Kennard had like 7 threes last night and like 30 points. I mean, like they're getting like inspired play from guys you don't really see that happening from.
Yeah, killing them would be a good. I mean, as weird as it sounds, like beating them bad would be a good win because they don't get. I mean, they play top teams tight.
Yeah, like even last few, they beat Milwaukee right before the All-Star break.
Mm-hmm.
They lost by 9 to the Grizzlies, lost by 6 to the Clippers. So they play good teams.
I think you meant Minnesota, right?
Yeah, Timberwolves. Yeah, I meant Timberwolves. Yeah.
They were up that game and late in the third, early in the fourth quarter. Like they were.
Yeah.
The Timberwolves needed like a crazy late third and early fourth from Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, they're a scrappy team for sure. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do with that squad when Ja returns next year and everyone's healthy. Yeah. But all right, guys. Well, that does it for us. So we'll see you guys Friday, and it looks like Friday again. We're gonna be previewing another weekend of another Sunday ABC ESPN game. So we have Friday night we have hosting Pelicans. Then Sunday at 7 we travel to New York, and that's the ESPN game, 7:00 game. Huge game for playoff seeding. And then we play them again on Tuesday next week on TNT. So we have 2 nationally televised games against the Knicks upcoming in the next week. So. Wow. Fun times ahead, man. This is crunch time. Every game counts. All right, guys. Well, hope you guys enjoy the episode. We'll see you guys on Friday.
Later on.
See you, fellas.
All right, take it easy.